Welcome to Are We the Only Ones? I'm Kathy, and today I want to talk about some legal news. Luigi Mangione is looking to withdraw his insanity defense because originally they had planned to go, he had started with the not guilty, and then the legal team, his legal team, decided that it might be good to use an emotional disturbance / insanity defense to reduce the charge from murder to manslaughter, which would mean that he would not be facing the death penalty. But that also means that you're admitting to the crime. So they have regrouped after one day and decided to withdraw the insanity defense. And we'll see what ends up happening as the case plays out. But there's a lot of interesting feelings, right, about how we view him and what it says about where we are with healthcare. So other legal news is that the judicial branch is standing up to Donald Trump in some of their statements after the cases that they're presiding over. They have written some statements with very extraordinary language. I actually have some. Let me grab these. I printed them out because they're so good. I had to, be able to say them, be able to quote them. All right, so quoting the CNN, and I actually posted screenshots of this on my Are We the Only Ones pod TikTok account. So if you want to see them, you can see them there. I created a reel. But one of the statements, Judge William Young, U.S. District Court of Massachusetts, said September 30th, 2025, the president's palpable misunderstanding that the government simply cannot seek retribution for speech he disdains poses a great threat to Americans' freedom of speech. It's a very powerful statement. One, that judge obviously wants that on the record so that the historical record in the courts especially. So that's a very, and judges don't usually write things like that. So that's why it's extraordinary language. And here's another one. Okay, Judge Beryl Howell, March 6, 2025, U.S. District Court of the District of Columbia. An American president is not a king, not even an elected one. And his power to remove federal officers and honest civil servants like plaintiff is not absolute, but may be constrained in appropriate circumstances. Okay, and then I have another one from the U.S. District Court, Western District of Texas, Judge Fred Beery, January 31st, 2026. The case has its genesis in the ill-conceived and incompetently implemented government pursuit of daily deportation quotas, apparently even if it requires traumatizing children. So, some extraordinary language from the judges. And I think, we see so much with like the reflecting pool right now. Algae has infested the reflecting pool. The Washington Monument, there's no reflection anymore. The contractor that Donald Trump hired and gave the bid to, it turns out to have committed fraud in the past. And, because I used to work in traffic engineering, I know how bid contracts and no bid contracts with primes and subprimes work. It takes a lot of proposals, and there's a lot of vetting and a lot of conversations, and I can't believe that and you usually aren't allowed, because of conflict of interest laws, you're not allowed to choose your friends. So, and there's like an actual system for this in the government. So I don't understand how they sidestepped this and they gave it to this guy who obviously was a failure. And they're basically arresting people that go over to the reflecting pool and take any of the weird sealant or whatever that's like lifting off of the bottom of the pool. It used to be made of some kind of like stone that could filter out the water, and then it would seep through, and that's how they're reflected. So it would be still, and it wouldn't turn like green. But then whatever they did to it, it messed it up, and then now it doesn't work like the way it was supposed to work. It's been working so well until they touched it. Until Donald Trump put his. He's like he's like the opposite of Midas touch. Everything he turns, instead of to gold like he wants, it turns into poop. Basically, there was another, somebody in the White House said that Donald Trump was caught like super gluing gold inside into like the Oval Office. And, I mean, it's just so ironic to me that this man built a brand about being rich in like the most expensive city in America. And he ends up being like total garbage in terms of his taste. He eats McDonald's. I mean, look, full disclosure, I just had McDonald's, but I don't have a lifetime of McDonald's. I'm not gonna eat like to the level that he is, especially if it's like not good for my health. But I've also heard reports that Donald Trump, when he is in the White House, he literally just like throws his takeout containers and his McDonald's bags and wrappers and stuff on the ground in the White House. And like he's been throwing away White House silverware, like actual White House antique, very expensive silverware. And when I thought about it, I'm like, oh yeah, if you've been spoiled your whole life, maybe you like don't even have like common decency because everybody cleans up after you. And maybe you also have this need to like feel better, so you like throw things on the ground because you think it makes you powerful that they have to clean it up, but really you're just like you're just like a dirty person. Like a dirty, just like your energy is just dirty. Everything about you is dirty, you know? And I think that tracks because he seems pretty disgusting and gross. And you know, I was also like thinking about what else to talk about. My editor, shout out to Chris Malatino-Brown, was like, what about data centers too? What about Luigi Mangione? Oh, yes. Okay. So he also brought up the Trump administration is pushing to sell national park public land to pay for the tax cuts that the billionaires got. And I don't know why I hadn't heard of this. I was kind of surprised. I'm in the alt national parks Facebook page. Like I follow them, and I think that this is retaliation for all of the truth that they tell about the White House, because that's probably one Facebook page where I feel like I can go to for the truth about what's going on. But yeah, the Trump administration has been attacking public parks, and I think because they think they should be able to drill. But I think it's just more destruction. Like if you look at the White House right now, the ellipsis is completely torn up. There's no grass. There's no east wing, so that's all under construction. Everything looks just, and then you see from the aerial view, you see the algae and the reflecting pool at the Washington Monument and Lincoln Memorial that connects the two. And it's so crazy to me how like why would he want to live like that? Why does he want to be surrounded? So I think he definitely is going into some serious like Alzheimer's, dementia. But I mean, there was a official report that said that Iran has like psychologists to help strategize on dealing with Donald Trump, because no shade, they think that he actually legitimately has mental illness issues, and that's why they're having these people help figure out how to strategize negotiations with them, with somebody who's super mentally ill, right? I'm like, wow, this is where we're at in this country right now. We're making up fake awards that are the opposite given to somebody who's the opposite of what the award is, like the first peace prize from FIFA, and then he's like telling like the Iranian government leaders that like they'll bomb the the poop out of them And so they leave the negotiation meeting. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? Like, how do you, it's just one of those things where you realize like you can't, in most other cases, I think Donald Trump was always the one that had the leverage. So he could bully whoever he was trying to negotiate with. The way he was doing it would work. But these other countries, like they actually have more leverage. So he doesn't understand it's not going to go down like that. So and I guess he just doesn't care. Father's Day, apparently the Trump organization, like the corporate entity, Eric Trump has been the one that has taken it over, not Don Jr. So there was a lot of news organizations talking about how Donald Trump Jr. not only did he not get a shout out for a Father's Day official post where his brother did, but also that he didn't even get his dad to attend his wedding in the Bahamas. And obviously there's some strain there. I have to also wonder, to me, Ivanka Trump feels like somebody that would be like the same, akin to like a Jeffrey Epstein assistant. You know, somebody who knows what's going on and just doesn't, as if she can be in a role where she's like better off than other people, she'd rather, you know, she's trapped in it too, kind of, right? I'm not giving her excuses. I'm just saying this is probably what happened. Could you imagine being a little girl that's pretty and living as the daughter of Donald Trump? How gross! Like he would be constant. Ugh. Mm. Which brings me to even like not Game of Thrones, but House of the Dragon just came out. Episode 1 of season 3. Oh, gotta watch it. So good. But yeah, more incestuous things. Not as bad as usual. Well, actually, I guess it's still bad because Daemon Targaryen and Rhaenyra Targaryen are uncle and niece. But anyway, it was nice to sort of watch a show that was like really good that I could escape and just kind of look at art. But then, you know, it made me realize how much we don't have production here in LA. I think Thomas Mackey was doing an interview and he talked about how for big name actors, there's no productions in LA. And that, like, it's sad, like, it's scary. And it was interesting because I got booked for a photo shoot. And it was cool. I got to go to Palm Springs for it. And it was my first time going to Palm Springs. That was cool. And it was to promote the greater Palm Springs area and the desert cities. And I didn't know anything really about them, but it was really awesome to go to Palm Springs for the first time. I got to play pickleball as part of my booking. And it was just really, really awesome how the community I could feel it was like this is a cute community and everybody that lived there seemed to love it. And I went to a restaurant called Booze Hounds in Palm Springs that was opened by people that lived in New York. They were in a hospitality group in New York City. So I was like, oh yeah, okay, I can feel how it is very professionally run. Like there's something about it that's like very like, wow, I wouldn't have thought a town with only, I want to say like 47,000 people, population total. I think that's what the sign said when I drove it. Would have such nice restaurants and stuff that were like, this restaurant, I guess like, it's kind of concept is like for your dog and for your dog to bring in their human kind of vibe. I thought that was hilarious. Really good food, great ambiance, and finally got to see some cool architecture and get a sense of the downtown. It wasn't really a bad drive to Palm Springs from where I live, so it was kind of cool to experience for like a work thing. And I'm gonna eventually go back out there and take my kids, maybe go to one of the cool hotels. But now I understand like how far Coachella is from where I live. It's about an hour and a half. It's not so bad, but it is hot out there, and I don't know. The sun out there is strong, strong, and it did make me think about. And there's beautiful mountains and palm trees out there. Like it is a great place to retire. I just have to check the tax rates and see what's going on out there. But I do love my home, and I think we're probably going to stay here. We're thinking about retirement is heavy on my mind, you know, like where do we live? Most people I know right now are scouting out Portugal. So I'm going to find out. Most people feel good about it. It's free healthcare, national healthcare, low cost of living, good lifestyle, good food, a lot of seafood. I'm looking into possibly getting a place in Vietnam, in Da Nang. But this is kind of the global economy and wanting to be able to mobilize yourself if you need to, where you're in control, right? Not like somebody like expelling you and deporting you. So, that's where my head's at. I'm not that old. I'm old enough to be worried about retirement, but certainly I'm thinking about the future more now than ever because of everything. I've noticed a big change in American familial culture now. It's not really about like having children, being so focused on children like launching that like, and then having independent lives where everybody's in their own houses away from you. Because I feel like it used to be very frowned upon if your kids ended up near you and relying upon you because it seemed like they hadn't, like become independent. Now I believe the flex is actually if your kids stay near you and whether you have a family compound that you create, or just the concept of like it's not bad anymore to have a close family unit even into adult years and like even senior years, There was something I had seen about the idea of, that now it is more common for people who are under 35 to still live with their parents, which is not something that Gen X, like I didn't have to. My parents actually wanted me to stay in the house and live with them until I got married because that was a very Vietnamese thing, maybe Chinese thing too. But I was like, no. And so as soon as I could leave, I left. And my parents were really sad. Like they're really like hurt. Like it's almost like there was animosity about me leaving. But I felt like I had to prove my independence. And I never went back home because I felt like I have to become an adult. And I was like 19, I think, maybe 18. I think 18 actually. And so for me, I can't understand because I remember minimum wage was like $4 and like 17 cents an hour. And I was working with that and paying for all of my bills. I think I did have multiple jobs. I had like 2 to 3 jobs at one time, all the time, because I needed it, I guess. I don't know why else I would have done that, but I was also trying to get to know I was an admin director at the time in college. I was kind of like, all right, let me figure out all the different industries there are and see which one I would want to be a part of. But I remember people that were working in restaurants that were making like bank. And I also feel like actually not recently. Even back then, Costco was the spot. I remember I was making $4.17 an hour, and everybody was like, that I was at Costco, was like, why don't you go to Costco? It's $15 an hour. And I just remember thinking like it wasn't like cool or something, like something lame. And now the fact that Costco is still like the place to work that will treat you well at like $30 an hour, I think. I think that's something that like I love that the consistency of Costco being a good employer. I think that is something definitely to emulate and put them on a pedestal for. So I do find myself in this like real world local environment. How is my local like community life? And then what's the national conversation? And it's very different vibes. And when I need the World Cup content to make me feel like kind of like, okay, give me the reality check of like the joy factor. Where are we at? The individual American, because I tend to feel like we actually all get along until we start talking about stuff that makes the other person feel like you're judging them for what they like. I do have friends that are on the progressive side that make me feel like I'm wrong for keeping lines of communication open with conservative Republicans. But for me, I find like the ones I can keep an open line with will end up, we have very productive conversations, and we're actually more similar than different. And the things that they're afraid of, I totally can help them overcome those fears because they may not know people of color that they can talk to that make them understand things a little bit differently. That it's not like something that's gonna be threatening your existence, future, rights, whatever. To that, so I don't know if people even feel that way. It's just like it's just easier. It's an easier default. Sometimes it's not even as malicious necessarily as trying to like really impress somebody else as much as, especially if you're not plugged into politics. I didn't realize how many people were not plugged into politics until I started talking about politics on the podcast, because when I'm in public, um like my day to day, I don't talk about this stuff unless people bring it up to me, because I talk about it online so much, so I don't really need to do that in person. But when people bring it up, then I can discuss, but I'm always mindful about not making it turn into something that could escalate into like fisticuffs. You know what I'm saying? So I think so far it's been pretty good because I've been able to talk to a lot of different people and feel like we've been able to coexist peacefully. I'm trying to see what it's like. You know, maybe it's just like what I did realize is I am also guilty of always posting stuff online that's like negative about the United States. And of course, if I do have a lot of international followers and listeners, and I guess it would seem like this is how all it is. So I'm going to make an effort to post more positive stuff about America that's true as well, just so people can get a better idea of what America really is and not just like all the things that are bad. Because sometimes I'm like posting to, I feel like I'm just, my audience is American and I'm posting as if my audience is American, but the reality is it's not. I actually know that I have an international audience, and I'm forgetting that it's a disservice to the truth by not also talking about the good things that are like, most of the time it's actually good in America. Even when it's bad, you can literally change that feeling if you just go find your people, you know, like leave that group or leave that whatever. But you know, there's always some kind of like pecking order, everything. I find it even in like pickleball is a great example. I've just started playing that more seriously. There's even a pecking order with who's really good, who's not, all that stuff. But most people are really welcoming. And that's also sort of a microcosm of how people are in the world. Like most people are welcoming, but when some people think they're better than other people, they like to like lord themselves and make them feel that way over you and make you feel some sort of way. That's just it. That's just how human beings are, right? And so I'm happy to see what happens when everybody goes home from the World Cup and what they sort of like export from us and import into their own countries about joy, laughter, dancing, sharing, community, effervescence of community, and ranch dressing, right? All right, so tell me what you think. If you have any comments, any analysis you'd like to share, please feel free to share it in the comment section in Substack or email. Are we the only ones pod at Gmail, or in the YouTube comments, or on Instagram in the comments, or on TikTok. All the content I put up there is pretty different. I like to make everything a little bit so that you're not looking at the same stuff over and over again. So, and that you'd want to follow and see what's going on. All right. Until next time. Bye.